Pro Bono Happy Hour. I'm Elise Dorita. Recently, I spoke to our summer interns about their experiences promoting pro bono and access to justice. We're so grateful they spent their summers with us. Hi, Kelsey. Welcome to the Pro Bono Happy Hour. To start off, could you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Well, like you just said, my name is Kelsey Venus. I am a rising junior at the University of Michigan. I'm originally from Newtown, Connecticut, but when I was about 12 years old, I moved to Chicago, where I went to high school. At Michigan, I currently am studying a concentration called PBI, which stands for Philosophy, Political Science, and Econ. So it's a really cool interdisciplinary major that I'm really excited to start this upcoming year. Besides that, I'm involved in a club called OEC, which stands for Opportunities to Educate Children, where I am a tutor for a 5th grade girl. I love her. I've been with her for about a year, and I'm really excited to get back to her and start our new year. And beyond that, I'm also involved in Greek life, and I play soccer for our intramural team.
That's great. Why did you decide to come to PBI and to Washington, D.C.?
Well, I've always been interested in the legal industry, but I've always been exposed to it through my father, who's actually an in-house counsel lawyer. So I've never really gotten exposure to any other side of the legal industry. So when I found out about the Pro Bono Institute and how it deals with not only the pro bono aspect of the legal industry, but also it's more so on the consulting side and less so on direct legal services, I thought that was really, really interesting. And I thought that it would give me great exposure to a different side of the law that I am typically exposed to. So I thought it was going to be a really, really interesting experience.
Yeah, it's definitely great to see the other side of law. In my past life, I was a legal assistant, so working here, I have a different perspective as well. So what did you work on during your time here? Could you tell me a little bit about your projects?
Well, one of my first projects I worked on was compiling a lot of data about the firms on our Law Firm Pro Bono project for both the member firms and child signatories. So basically what my task was to collect a lot of data on how these firms are incentivizing their lawyers to engage in pro bono work. So for example, some of the things I looked up were whether or not firms had requirements for their lawyers, or whether or not the firms counted pro bono hours as equal weight to billable hours. So looking up those different data points and those different incentives firms have for their lawyers to engage in pro bono work was really interesting. And by compiling all that data, we're able to send it out to all our member firms and child signatories so they can look at how other firms are structuring their pro bono programs and maybe mimic it to make theirs stronger.
So I know you did some research for some of our blogs. Is there anything from that you found particularly interesting?
Well, I did work on a couple blogs. So some of the topics I worked on were the environment, Labor Day, which will be coming out soon, and an expungement blog for the CPBO project or side of things. And I thought that was extremely interesting just because I was able to learn a lot and read about a lot of different cases from many of our different firms. And that was really cool for me because it was my first time being exposed to real life cases and actually learning about what they were doing and how they approach these different obstacles. So it was really eye-opening and really fun to not only write the blogs, but also be able to research on a bunch of different topics.
Great. So what else did you learn about pro bono and access to justice?
One thing that actually really surprised me, which shouldn't because my father is an in-house counsel lawyer, was how much companies were involved in pro bono work. I had no idea that legal departments in Fortune 500 companies are engaging in pro bono work. So it was really cool, especially through my expungement blog for the CPBO project, to learn about how huge companies that I always see like billboard posters for are like engaging in these expungement clinics and helping people who are just getting out of prison clear their records so they have a better opportunity and better chance of getting employed. So I thought that was really interesting to learn that all lawyers, no matter if you're in-house or out-of-house, it's their duty and they play a really critical role in pro bono work. So I thought that was really cool.
Great. So what are the rest of your plans for your summer here?
For the rest of the summer, I'm actually leaving PBI soon, and I'll be transitioning into another internship. So I'm actually working next for the Washington Public Defense Service. So that's going to be interesting. I'm really sad to be leaving here. I feel like my time here has gone by so quickly, but I'm really grateful for my opportunity here and how much I've learned, and I think that's going to really help me be even more successful in my next internship here in DC.
Yeah, it really feels like you just got here.
I know.
It's going to be weird to see you go. So when you head back to Michigan for the school year, what are your plans?
So, like I mentioned before, I'm a rising junior, so I'm going to be starting my major. So I'm very excited to really dive deeper into the subject matter that I'm very passionate about. I'm taking a lot of philosophy courses, which are challenging to say the least, but I think they're really intellectually stimulating. So I'm really excited to get started on that. And then for my spring, I plan on studying abroad somewhere in Spain. So I'm really excited to get that process going as well.
Oh, studying abroad is one of my favorite college experiences. Our listeners know that I did that because I brag about it whenever we talk about Australia. So thank you, Kelsey, for being on the Pro Bono Happy Hour.
Thank you for having me.
Sahil, welcome to the Pro Bono Happy Hour podcast. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So to start, can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
I am a undergraduate student at the University of Michigan. I'm entering my junior year, majoring in political science with a minor in history. I was on the debate team at Michigan and in high school. It was kind of my big activity. And yeah, I mean, my goal is to go to law school and going out and make a difference, much like the work here at the Pro Bono Institute.
Great. Why did you decide to come to PBI? That's probably kind of relevant to what you were just talking about.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously goals to go to law school, but I also wanted to do something that I felt like would give back to the community and something that really would make a difference and I could be passionate about. And I feel like a lot of my work that I've done and a lot of the things I've been able to see have really fit with that goal.
Great. What did you work on during your time here? I know there are some blogs, so you can tell me more about that.
Yeah, so I did get to write a couple blogs. The first blog I wrote was on the Verizon clinic that I was able to attend my very first week here. I wrote about, I guess, when they were teaching the lawyers how to handle these clients, and I actually got to sit in one of those meetings, and I got to write a little bit about that. I also wrote a blog about transgender rights and how different law firms can come together and help work on that. I've also done a lot of things like updating spreadsheets. I've updated some pro bono opportunities charts to let different lawyers in different areas know what is available to them. In addition to updating some information about the local ACC chapters. So it's been a wide variety of work.
Great. Some of it's definitely very timely.
Yeah.
So what did you learn about pro bono and access to justice while you were here?
I think one of the biggest things I took away was just how widespread it is. Like when we went to the clinic the very first week, I saw these big corporate lawyers from Verizon just going out and helping these people and really putting in the effort and care. It really opened my eyes just to see how the law community as a whole really puts emphasis on giving back to the community, and definitely eye-opening and definitely something that was really cool to see and was really exciting.
Great. So what are your plans for the rest of the summer? What little is left?
Yeah. So I got about 3 more weeks off. I'm planning on going back home, and then I move back into Ann Arbor in late August. Excited for that.
The calm before school begins.
Exactly.
And the stress starts. So when you do head back to Michigan for the school year, what are your plans?
There's nothing really specific. I mean, attending football games, obviously. Michigan has a great team. Getting into classes. I'm looking into joining some new clubs and organizations this year. So I'm just really excited to see where things take me.
Great. I've been to a Michigan football game, actually, and it is definitely an experience, to say the least, and it's a ton of fun, and you'll enjoy it. So thanks for joining us.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, my pleasure.
Here comes the sun. Here comes the sun.
Welcome to the Pro Bono Happy Hour, Madeline. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
So I'm going into my second year at Harvard Law School, and I'm an intern here at PBI. I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, and then I went to undergrad out west at Pomona College in California, where I majored in politics, philosophy, and economics. And then between undergrad and law school, I worked at Sullivan & Cromwell in New York as a legal assistant for 2 years.
Great. So why did you decide to come to PBI?
So my experience at SNC, the pro bono matters I worked on were some of the most exciting and rewarding cases. And so I always kind of had this interest. And like a lot of law students, I'll probably end up at a big firm again when I graduate. But I really wanted to have an experience where I could sort of learn how I could make a difference in that role. And the mission of PBI just really spoke to me.
Great. Yeah, it's definitely nice to see both sides of the big firm, then the pro bono work.
Exactly.
Yeah, I know I've enjoyed it. So what have you worked on during your time here?
So right now I'm finishing up a toolkit about how retired or attorneys who are in the process of retiring could transition to a pro bono practice, and how law firms could set that up. But I've also worked on a tip sheet about how law firms that are transitioning away from using billable hours to evaluate associates could still give those associates credit for their pro bono work. And I wrote a blog post about how it's important to keep evaluating and seeking feedback as we innovate in pro bono.
Great. So, listeners, if you check out the PBI, you'll probably see a hat tip to Madeline soon. So, what did you learn about pro bono and access to justice during your time here?
My time here has made me a lot more optimistic about access to justice. I sort of came in pessimistic. It seemed so insurmountable, the justice gap. But since I've been here, I've just learned about the huge variety of innovations and initiatives, and also meeting everyone at PBI and learning about how people who are so smart and dedicated are working on the problem, and my outlook is a lot sunnier.
A nice way of looking at it. So, what are your plans for the rest of the summer, trying to escape the DC heat, hopefully?
Yes, I'm going back to New York, so only a little bit less hot. And I'm just going to go back and spend some time with my family. My mom recently bought me and my sister and herself tickets to see an adaptation of Pride and Prejudice in the Hudson Valley, and the New York Times called it Madcap, so I'm excited to see what that means. But it should be nice.
Yeah, I want to know what that means because I don't exactly know either. So, you go to Harvard Law School, so when you head back to Boston, or it's Cambridge, right? Mm-hmm. It's technically Cambridge. What are your plans?
So the first thing I need to do is interview for next summer and do the on-campus interviews. But once I get past that, I'm really looking forward to starting the school year. And in particular, I am going to be taking a clinic, which I'm really excited for. And it is about predatory lending and specifically student loans, which is really timely now.
Yeah, that's definitely something that I would find useful as a young millennial. Thanks for joining us, and it was great to have you this summer.
It was so nice to be here. I just loved it, so thank you.
Hi, Erin. Welcome to the Pro Bono Happy Hour.
Thanks for having me.
Tell me a little bit about yourself to start.
So I'm from Cleveland, Ohio, and I graduated from The Ohio State University in 2015. And last year, I was an AmeriCorps member where I worked in a low-income school in East Cleveland, and I taught math to middle schoolers. And I started at Georgetown Law this past fall, and I'll be a 2L in the fall.
Great. So why did you decide to come to PBI?
I had a wonderful interview with Rita, actually. I didn't know too much about the organization, but in doing some research and reading blog posts, and I saw a video of Rita when I was doing some research, and it felt like a good match, and it seemed that everybody here was passionate and nice, and I, having had that experience in the low income school, I definitely wanted to continue my community involvement and see kind of the bridge between big law and private law firms and how they can give back pro bono wise to the community.
Great. It's definitely nice to get that perspective. So what did you work on during your time here?
I worked on a number of different things. I was lucky that I got to work on things that I was passionate about. So they asked me what I wanted to do. And so I did a bit of research on truancy, which is a legal issue and also an educational issue in the country. And I saw that a few law firms are doing some really amazing work with the Truancy Intervention Project or Appleseed or a number of nonprofits and trying to decriminalize truancy, but also eradicate eradicate, chronic absenteeism. And I just wrote a couple pieces on why it's important to listen to your pro bono clients. I went to a clinic in the box and went to landlord-tenant court. So I got to see a few hands-on things, which was really great.
Yeah, going to court is always a fun and new experience. What did you learn about pro bono and access to justice while you were here?
I think one of the most important things I learned was that a lot of people have issues in their community that they don't even realize are legal issues. And I was just reading something that, 70% or something of people in this country who have legal issues don't actually seek help for it. So I think getting the word out there and letting people know that they have access to legal help, and also that just because it's free doesn't mean that it's low quality help, but these are actually people who care about the community and will do a good job. I think it's important to reach out to communities and let them know that there is help available, and let them know where they can find it. Definitely.
So what are your plans for the rest of the summer?
I think I might travel back to Ohio to visit my family. I definitely want to visit a few more DC museums, so I've gotten some good recommendations from the people here. And then I'm just going to get ready for the interview process, on campus, and start to do some research for the classes I'm taking, get to know some of the professors, and really gear up for the year.
Yeah, so speaking of which, the school year is fast approaching, and since you're in Georgetown, you're going to be staying in DC. What are you looking forward to for the rest of the year?
I'm looking forward to being a 2L, just because I'm not going to be so brand new on campus anymore. The 1Ls, we really came together and got to know each other very well, because I think we were so terrified all the time, and we kind of went through it together and learned how to swim on our own. But it'll be cool to have a year under my belt and be able to give advice to the younger, not necessarily younger, but newer students. I think that'll be great, and just get involved in more activities. I mean, the first year is so curriculum oriented, and then the second year you can kind of get involved in a number of different student organizations. So I'm looking forward to getting involved in those types of things.
Great. Sounds like you have a busy year ahead. Mm-hmm. Well, thanks for coming on the Pro Bono Happy Hour.
Thank you for having me.
We'll be out celebrating the holiday next week, but don't forget to tune back in on September 7th for a new episode of the Pro Bono Happy Hour. New and archive episodes of the podcast can be found on Apple Podcasts and YouTube. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Please take a moment to leave an Apple Podcast review. It's quick and easy to do. We'd appreciate the feedback, and it would help make it easier for other listeners to find the show, expand the conversation about pro bono and access to justice. We'd love to hear from you. Send your comments, feedback, and questions to probono@probonoinst.org.